Remember that moment when your phone would buzz at exactly 9 p.m. and everyone you knew was logging into HQ Trivia? Maybe you were in the middle of dinner, hanging out with friends, or even at work, and suddenly everything stopped. You'd hear, "Let's get down to the nitty-gritty!" And for the next 15 minutes, you were glued to your screen, playing live trivia with a million other people, hoping to win real cash. For a short window in 2017 and 2018, HQ Trivia was everywhere. It felt like the future of mobile entertainment. Then, almost as fast as it blew up, it disappeared. So what happened? How does an app go from global phenomenon to total collapse? Stick around, because we're diving into the wild rise and fall of HQ Trivia. And trust me, this story has more twists than you think. The birth of a sensation, HQ Trivia was the brainchild of Russ Yusupov and Colin Kroll, the same guys who created Vine. After Vine was sold to Twitter and eventually shut down, they wanted to build something new: live, interactive entertainment on mobile. In 2017, they launched HQ Trivia, a simple but brilliant idea. Twice a day, players would log in to answer a series of trivia questions live. Win them all. You got real money sent straight to your PayPal. But it wasn't just about the cash. It was about the experience. You were playing with friends, family, coworkers, sometimes a million people at once. It turned your phone into a live game show. And in an era of passive scrolling, HQ was interactive, social, and addictive. Word spread like wildfire. HQ wasn't just an app, it was a movement. And it was only getting started. The power of live. What made HQ so unique wasn't just the trivia, it was the timing. You had to show up live. Games happened at set times, 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. No rewinds, no on demand. If you missed it, you missed out. This created massive FOMO. People arranged their schedules around the game. Offices would pause meetings. Families would gather around the phone. Bars would host HQ nights. And here's the genius: those push notifications. They worked like a charm. Every time your phone buzzed with, "HQ is starting," you couldn't resist. It created a shared cultural moment, a throwback to the days when everyone watched the same TV shows at the same time. In a world dominated by on-demand streaming and endless scrolling, HQ brought back appointment viewing. And for a while, it worked brilliantly. The star power of Scott Rogowski. Of course, it wasn't just the game mechanics that drew people in. It was the host. Scott Rogowski, affectionately known as Quiz Daddy, became the face of HQ. He wasn't your typical polished TV host. He was goofy, self-aware, and genuinely funny. His off-the-cuff jokes, pop culture references, and signature catchphrases, "Let's get down to the nitty-gritty," gave HQ its personality. Players didn't just log in for trivia. They tuned in for Scott. He made the game feel personal, like you were hanging out with a friend. When other hosts subbed in, the energy changed, and players noticed. Scott's charisma turned HQ from a novelty app into a community. He was the glue that kept people coming back night after night. Without him, HQ wouldn't have had the same magic. He was as much a star as the app itself. Explosive growth. By early 2018, HQ Trivia wasn't just popular, it was a full-blown cultural phenomenon. At its peak, over 2 million players were logging in for the biggest games. Prize pots ballooned from the thousands to 10,000, even 300,000 on special nights. Celebrities started joining in. The Rock hosted. Nike sponsored games. HQ wasn't just an app anymore, it was pop culture. The media couldn't get enough. News outlets ran story after story. Late-night hosts joked about it. Players bragged on social media when they made it to the final round. Investors loved the momentum. HQ raised over $15 million in funding. People were saying it could be the next big entertainment platform. For a brief moment, but HQ looked unstoppable. But here's the thing: when you grow that fast, cracks can start to show. A business model that didn't work? Here's the harsh truth: HQ never figured out how to actually make money. Giving away cash prizes is expensive, and while the player base was huge, they weren't paying to play. It was a free app, supported by occasional sponsorships. Some brands did special games, but the deals were inconsistent. Advertising could have been a solution, but the leadership team couldn't agree on how to implement it without ruining the experience. Would players tolerate pre-roll ads? Would live sponsorships feel cheesy? The answers never came fast enough. Meanwhile, every game was burning cash. The bigger the audience, the bigger the burn. Without a reliable revenue stream, HQ was riding on hype, and that's not sustainable. The financial clock was ticking, and there wasn't a solid plan in place. Chaos at the top behind HQ's rapid rise, the leadership was in turmoil. Co-founders Russ Yusupov and Colin Kroll had different visions for the company. Russ wanted to carefully scale and refine the experience. Colin pushed for faster growth and monetization. The tension led to constant power struggles. Employees often found themselves caught in the middle. Key staff left, morale dropped, decisions were delayed or reversed, all while competitors were starting to copy the live trivia format. In 2018, Colin was named CEO. But the internal drama didn't stop. Just as HQ needed strong leadership and clear direction, it was dealing with chaos behind the scenes. And when a company is at war with itself, it's hard to fight off challenges from the outside. Tech problems galore. If you played HQ Trivia back then, you probably remember this: the app crashed a lot. When millions of people log in at once for a live show, the tech has to be rock solid. But HQ's servers weren't ready for the demand. Games would lag, questions would freeze, streams would cut out mid-game. Nothing kills the vibe faster than a buggy experience, especially when real money is on the line. Frustrated players would vent on Twitter. Memes about HQ crashes started circulating. Every technical glitch chipped away at player trust, and once people get annoyed enough, they stop showing up. HQ had lightning in a bottle, but the tech couldn't keep up. And in live entertainment, there's no second chance. The copycats arrive, of course. Once HQ proved live trivia could work, everyone wanted in. Competitors launched copycat apps almost overnight. Some were direct clones, others added twists, different prize formats, team play, regional games. Big tech companies took notice too. Facebook started experimenting with live interactive shows. YouTube tried similar formats. Suddenly, HQ wasn't the only game in town. And because HQ didn't have a moat, no unique tech, no locked-in user base, players started drifting to newer, sometimes more stable alternatives. The magic of being the first wore off fast. And without consistent innovation or new features, HQ struggled to stay ahead of the wave it had started. Losing its star host, then came a huge blow. Scott Rogowski, the face of HQ, left the app in 2019. Scott had become a genuine star. His quirky humor and personality were a massive part of HQ's charm. But tensions with management over side projects he wanted to host a sports show led to a split. When Scott left, so did a big chunk of HQ's identity. New hosts tried their best, but the chemistry wasn't the same. For many players, Scott was HQ. Without him, the vibe shifted. The community felt it. The energy dipped. In an app built so much on personality and experience, losing your biggest star was a major hit. One more reason players started tuning out. User burnout. Even the most viral apps face one big challenge: keeping players engaged long-term. With HQ, the novelty wore off faster than expected. Playing live trivia every single day. Fun at first, then it started to feel like a chore. Prize pools got smaller. The questions felt repetitive, and winning became harder as more players joined. Frustration crept in. Casual players dropped off. Without fresh formats or major new features, HQ struggled to reinvent itself. They tried spin-offs like HQ Words, but it didn't have the same pull. And once player numbers started falling, it was hard to reverse the trend. Fewer players meant less hype, and less incentive for sponsors or investors to stay interested. The final collapse. By late 2019, things were dire. HQ was running out of cash. Monetization hadn't materialized. The leadership drama continued. User numbers were in freefall. Investors stopped pouring in new money. Staff layoffs followed. Behind the scenes, the writing was on the wall. In early 2020, HQ Trivia officially shut down. The final game ended with an awkward farewell from the hosts. Just like that, the app that had once drawn millions was gone. It was a brutal reminder: in tech, fast growth isn't enough. Without a sustainable business, strong leadership, and constant innovation, even the hottest app can burn out, and HQ burned out fast. The legacy. So what does HQ Trivia leave behind? For a moment, it showed what mobile entertainment could be: live, social, interactive, communal. It tapped into something people craved, shared experiences in a world of isolated scrolling. It also proved that tech alone isn't enough. Without strong leadership, a clear business model, and a plan for long-term engagement, virality fades. HQ influenced future live formats, from live shopping apps to Twitch extensions to interactive streaming. You can see echoes of HQ in today's platforms, and for those who played, it's still a fond memory. For a few months, we all gathered around our phones, together. A rare, fleeting kind of magic. And that's how HQ Trivia took over our phones and then disappeared. A mix of brilliant innovation, explosive growth, and ultimately, missed opportunities and internal chaos. What do you think was their biggest mistake? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, give it a like, share it around, and hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more where this came from. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.